This Bubble tutorial video is the first in a series of how to create a no-code CRM built with bubble.io. We're going to be breaking it into a number of different blocks, and this first episode of this mini-series is going to be about building a login/registration workflow for your users. This is a natural place to start, as we're going to be implementing all of the best practices of Bubble, including privacy rules, protecting user data as we go along. And so very quickly we'll be getting to a part in the app where we want to be running the app as a user to check that all of our data types or everything in our database is where it should be and it's all nice and secure. But before I launch into it, did you know that we have got over 160 Bubble tutorial videos available on our website? Some of them you can only find there. You can search YouTube as much as you like, but they are for our members, and you can find out more about becoming a member at planetnocode.com. But here we have a blank canvas in Bubble. I've added nothing to this app. I've simply created a new app, and I'm going to start, like I said, with registration and login. So my page here, I'm going to set the layout to align to parent. I'm going to give the background a grey colour, and I'm going to add in a group. And I'm going to be doing a sort of rough but alright looking UI build as I go along, and then maybe later on I'll include a whole video about just improvements that we can make to the UI. So it's not going to be perfect, but I'm not going to try and make it look rubbish either. So we're going to give this a column and put some padding in there. And this is going to be one of the boxes for one of our forms for login and registration. And I'm building it on index because I'm going to set my app up so that when people visit the domain name that I attach to this Bubble app, they will be taken to login or register. And then actually the actual dashboard for the CRM is going to be a different page. And that's going to help me add in workflows for if the user is logged out, send them to index. If they're logged in, send them to dashboard, that sort of thing. So let's add in some text, and I'll use the H2 here. I'll say login. And actually I'll do register first, and then I'm going to add in some text, and I'll call this one. This is going to be my label for my form items. From an accessibility point of view, it is not best practice to simply rely on placeholders because they don't always interact well with screen reader software. So I'm going to add in a label and a input for every field that I'm creating. So we'll have email, get rid of the min height, set the width to 100%, and I'm going to add in my input, my text input. These tend to look good at around 55 or 52. Also going to make that 100% width. And I'm going to group these together. You'll see why in 5 seconds, because then I can use the space between. And so I can add in a gap 4. Tends to look quite good. And then I'm going to duplicate this, right clicking on the group, pasting in the parent of the group. And so this is going to be password. And now I'm going to select both groups. We can see basically I've selected these two here, and I'm going to put these into a group, and this is going to enable me to put a nice uniform gap in between each of the form elements. So group elements in column. I don't think that worked. No, I had the wrong bit selected. So I need to make sure I have group C selected, and then I'm holding shift and I make sure I've got group B selected, and then group elements in column. That's what I was going for. And then I can add in a nice uniform gap. Ooh, 24? Too much. Let's go 18. And I'm also going to add in a name field. So send this up to the top. Right, let's update our labels. We'll say first name. And I am going to update the placeholder because, let me show you. It then updates the internal element label within Bubble, and this is really helpful when we're trying to connect our forms to a workflow, because we want to know what different bits of our form belong where when we're when we're assigning a form input to a field like first name on current user. And then email, we'll put enter your email. And I'm going to change the content format to email. This means that Bubble will reject and show an error if someone doesn't enter an actual email address. And we'll say enter a password. And make sure that this content type is password. Cool. Lastly, I think we need a button. So I'm going to add a button into my form. And now say register. Okay, yeah, it's not amazing UI design, but it's also not untidy either. In fact, I'll add a little border radius to here. 12. Cool. Right, let's set this up with a workflow. So, when the user clicks register, we add a workflow here. And our action is going to be account, sign the user up. And then this is where it's helpful that by replacing the placeholder text with our own, if I type an email, I then get Bubbles automatically renamed the email input to be enter your email. So it helps me match up, and we'll go password. And change another field because we're also taking first name. And so I'm going to create a new field and say first name. And make this of type text. And so I've created the field on the user data type. Let's have a quick look at that. So in data, I've only got one data type so far. Because it's a CRM, I'm at least going to create contacts at some point. But right now, I just have user. And user is a special data type because the user data type is the only data type that you can put the register user and the sign up user workflows and kind of anything to do with user authentication that is linked to current user, you have to do that through user. And the mistake that I see quite a few people making is that they think, oh, my app's got multiple users. Maybe I've got admins and then I've got team leaders or I've got buyers or sellers, the sort of thing you get in a marketplace. And so they attempt to create a buyer user type and a seller user type with creating a new data type. Now that could be used if you indeed link them all back into a user type, but you can't give a seller, if you create a new seller type here, you can't give that seller the ability to log in and register. You can only give that to users. All I was trying to point out here before I went off on a bit of a tangent with that is that the first name field, you can see it's been added in to the user type, and we created that back on the workflow screen. Let's link this up to input your first name. And then when the user signs up, what do we want to do? I think we should send them to another page. So I'll create a new page here. I'll call it dashboard. Oh, my spelling's all over the place today. I'll just click create. And it's going to be blank. And we're going to pick that up in another tutorial. So we're on the dashboard page. I'm going to go back to index and finish this off by giving a go-to step in our workflow. And the destination is dashboard. Quick word on go-to steps. If you add in go-to steps without conditions, then Bubble knows that if you're going to send the user to another page, it has to come at the end of a workflow. Otherwise, you're going to get an issue showing up in the top here. You can use conditions to say if the user is this user type, send them here. If they're that user type, send them elsewhere. In that case, you can like stack go-to workflow actions in the same workflow. So this is going to sign our user up and send them to dashboard. We're then going to, I'm going to copy and paste this. And because I have my layout set to align to parent, the new one I've created is actually on top. So I have two identical ones, but they're sitting on top of each other because they're both set to center in the parent container type. So I'm going to name this one register, so that I can see more clearly in my element tree. And I'm going to name this one login. Now, I keep renaming elements to the minimum I know some people, they build a bubble and they really want to have an ordered element tree here, and so they rename everything as they create it. I tend to only rename if I think it's going to be genuinely useful to me when I'm looking for an element in the element tree. So, for example, these groups contain quite a few elements now, lots of nested groups, text labels, inputs, and it just helps me be able to tell the difference, especially as they aren't both visible on the screen at the same time. But I'm not in the habit of renaming every single group or renaming every input, especially inputs, because then if you change the input placeholder and you've renamed the input element, Bubble won't automatically update it in that case, and you can just end up with lots of duplicates that you can't tell which one's which. But anyway, let me hide by clicking the I button here, the register one. So now I'm definitely looking at login. So I'm going to change this to login, my header here, and I'm going to get rid of the name field, and then email address and password are the same, and so I change this to login, and I add another workflow. And so this workflow is going to be log the user in, and I match up the email address. Now I do have multiple fields called enter your email address twice. So what I shall do is I'll just change this one to your email. Otherwise, you could relabel it. I'll change this one to your password. So this is your email, and then your password. And I'm going to do the same thing, which is go to page and set it to dashboard. Let's preview and just see what's going on. Okay, so I get some rather ugly UI because they're both sitting on top of each other. So I now need to set up a way to only show one or the other. I would suggest, in terms of user experience, that you get a little bit more complicated here than what I'm about to show you, because you might well want to send your users to the same screen, whether they're registering or logging in, but you could use URL parameters to dictate which one is showing. And that can be useful because if you've got if you've built your landing page for your Bubble app outside the Bubble, say Webflow or Framer or WordPress, you might want to have a login and a register button that are separate, and you can use a URL parameter to determine which one is shown. But in this instance, I think I'm going to have users shown login because I want the better experience for my existing users. So register. I'm going to say element visible on page load, no, and then I'm going to collapse when hidden. And login, I'm just going to click collapse when hidden. That means that I should now only see login because the register group isn't visible when the page loads. So what you see quite a lot in SaaS applications is we put something down here, and I'll say, so this is the login. It's going to say need an account, create an account, and I'm just going to make this bold. Need an account, create an account. Okay. And so when this is clicked, I want to show register and I want to hide login. And then I'm actually going to copy and paste this. I'm going to hide my login, show my register, paste it in here, and I'll say already got an account, login. Okay, now there's several different ways I could do this. I could use show hide actions in a workflow, but actually I think I'm going to use a custom state instead because it just illustrates something a little bit different and extra in this video. So I'm going to create a custom state on the page. And a custom state is a way of temporarily storing data. Oh no, actually I won't use a custom state. I'm going to use the URL parameter. In fact, I'm going to have both of these hidden. and I'm going to add a condition. No, in fact, I'll have it visible, and I'll add a condition to register. And so I'm going to say get data from URL parameter, and I'll say show register, and I'll say is yes, and I'll add in, and then say element is visible. So this is a way of carrying data between even different websites, is you can put data in the URL. I'm going to show you how in a moment. But I need to create a mirror image of this on login. So I could do this and then untick it, but actually, what if I was to change this parameter, the when statement here, I then need to update it into location. So instead, I'm simply going to say when the register is visible, hide login. Let's preview that. So we see login by default, and the debugger mode here is an example of a URL parameter. It's saying debug mode equals true. And with URL parameters, the first one starts with a question mark, then you give it a label equals and then the value. Any following ones from the first one have to start with a ampersand, the and symbol. So it was show register equals yes. And now we see register. Now, how do I swap between them? I'm going to add a workflow to login and say navigate to index, add parameters, show register, and then I'm just writing in yes as a text string, and then on register, already got an account, log in. I'll just say go to page index. Now I'm counting on this wiping it out. Yeah, you can carry forward URL parameters by clicking this button here, but that would actually mean what we're doing now makes no sense at all. So let's try that. So I'm going to get rid of the show register URL parameter, and then I'm going to click here, and then click here, and it swaps me between them. And remember, let's get rid of the debug mode to avoid confusion. So this is a smart way to approach it, because it means that if I send users to this web address, I know that they're going to get login. If I send users to this web address, I know that they're going to get a register. I also know that if for some reason they have clicked the wrong button, they can easily toggle between the two themselves. So that's the end of part one. Let me have a look at my notes. Part two is going to be actually building out a dashboard, and then in the following parts of this mini-series we will be covering topics such as creating contact data types, how to add and edit entries in your database, setting up for your users. We'll cover privacy rules. We'll do a little bit of UI improvement. We're also going to cover adding in fields to contacts, tags, filtering contacts, and exporting contacts. So if you're not already subscribed and you've watched this far in this video, subscribe, hit like, it really helps us out on YouTube.